The lawnmower blade caught on something wet. Spring grass always fights back harder when it's soaked. I'm Sam Decker, 46. Been pulling wire through walls for the union for 23 years. My hands know the difference between live current and dead metal, same way I knew something was dying in my house. Perfect, Mom, Mrs. Henderson called from her porch, waving at my wife. Amanda's just the perfect mom, isn't she, Sam? The words hit my gut like a dropped wrench. Amanda smiled back, that rehearsed smile she'd perfected over 17 years of marriage. Too wide, too long, eyes like winter windows. Maple Heights, Cleveland. Humid air that sticks to your shirt. Garages with paint peeling like old scabs. Our neighborhood where everyone waves and nobody really looks. Amanda's performance never stopped. Every gesture calculated, every word measured. She'd check her reflection in the toaster before answering the door. Even at breakfast, she'd arrange Lily's cereal bowl like it was going on display. What did these neighbors actually see? My garage sits detached from the house, 20 feet of cracked driveway between us. Oil stains, tools hung precise on pegboard, the smell of metal and honest work. From my workbench, I can see the kitchen window, the front door, the driveway. People think garages are for hiding. They're wrong. Garages are for watching. Tuesday, 2:47 p.m. Amanda walked upstairs, phone pressed to her ear. Voice too low to hear through the walls. 10 minutes later, a man I didn't recognize pulled into our driveway. Not a neighbor, not a delivery guy. Amanda met him at the front door like she'd been waiting. The house felt different after he went inside. Footsteps overhead, but not the rhythm of cleaning or organizing. Something else. A subtle shift in the air, like pressure dropping before a storm. I didn't move from the garage. The engine block I'd been rebuilding sat cold, wrench still in my hand. I noted the time, the license plate, the way Amanda checked the street before closing the door. You work a machine long enough, you know when it's dying. Dinner that night played out like every other. Lily, 13, picked at her food and talked about school. Amanda served pot roast and asked about my day. Normal words? But her eyes kept flicking to the window, checking who might be watching from the street. I didn't ask about the visitor. Didn't mention the car or the closed door or the way the house had felt different for 2 hours. I just filed it away, next to 100 other small lies I'd been collecting without knowing why. Amanda cleared the dishes with the same mechanical precision she brought to everything. Lily disappeared upstairs to her room. The kitchen window went dark. In the garage later, I sat with a cold beer and listened to the house settle. 17 years of marriage, and I was just now learning the difference between quiet and silence. Quiet is peaceful. Silence is when something's been turned off. The neighbors still saw the perfect mom, still waved and smiled and complimented Amanda's garden, her casseroles, her way with our daughter. They saw the show she'd been running for years. But shows end when someone stops watching. I wiped down my tools and locked the garage. Tomorrow I'd pay more attention. Not because I was suspicious. Because I'm an electrician, and when the current changes, you trace the wire back to the source. The house was no different. Rain drummed against the garage roof for 3 straight nights. I sat in my chair, black coffee gone cold, watching the house lights flicker through the windows. The pattern was becoming clear. Amanda grew bolder after that first Tuesday. The same car appeared Wednesday evening, Thursday afternoon. Different times, but always when she thought I was buried in work. She'd stopped checking the street so carefully. Confidence makes people sloppy. I learned that rewiring houses where the last guy thought he knew better than the code. Lily started spending more time in her room. Homework that used to take an hour now stretched past dinner. She'd come down for food, say nothing, disappear again. Her face had that pale, stretched look kids get when they're carrying weight they shouldn't have to carry. Thursday afternoon, someone knocked on the garage door. Lily stood there clutching her phone like it might explode. Her hands shook. 13 years old, and she looked like she'd aged a decade in 3 days. She didn't say a word, just held up the screen. The video was clear. Amanda and the man, in our bedroom, on our bed. Audio too, every word sharp as broken glass. But it wasn't just what they were doing, it was what Amanda was saying. "He's useless, Rick. Completely useless. I've been walking on eggshells for years." Her voice practiced and cold. "Sometimes I don't feel safe, you know, like really unsafe." Rick. So the stranger had a name. "Save it," I told Lily. "Did I do something wrong?" Her voice barely a whisper. I shook my head. "You did what you had to." That night, after Amanda went to sleep, I watched the full video alone. 23 minutes of my wife rehearsing her victim's story with another man. Building a case I didn't even know was coming. "He gets angry so easily," Amanda said on the recording. "Lily's scared too. I just don't know what he might do." What did they think this was leading to? My brother-in-law Tommy showed up Friday evening with a six-pack, and that look he gets when he's carrying news. Tommy does process serving part-time notary work when it's slow. He knows the legal system like I know electrical panels. "Interesting week," he said, popping open a beer. I waited. Tommy never rushes information. Saw Amanda downtown Tuesday, coming out of Brennan and Associates. He took a long drink. Family law firm, the kind that specializes in difficult situations. The pieces clicked together like wire nuts twisting into place. "Divorce papers coming?" I asked. "That'd be my guess. But Sam..." Tommy leaned forward. "She was there 2 hours. That's not just filing paperwork. That's strategy." I thought about the video. Amanda's rehearsed lines about feeling unsafe, about Lily being scared, about my supposed anger that nobody had ever witnessed. She wasn't just planning to leave. She was planning to destroy me. Full custody, the house, maybe even a restraining order to keep me away from my own daughter. Clean, efficient, complete. How long had she been setting this up? "I need you to help Lily with something," I told Tommy. "Computer stuff. Backup files, print some things, mail them somewhere safe." Tommy nodded. He didn't ask questions. Family doesn't always need explanations. Saturday morning, while Amanda ran errands, Lily and Tommy worked in the garage. 3 copies of the video file, printed transcript of every word. Timestamps, metadata, everything dated and notarized. "Where should we send these?" Tommy asked. I gave him the address of a P.O. box I'd rented that morning. Cash only, fake name, old habits from union jobs where management liked to play games with workers' documentation. The real fight wasn't about marriage anymore. Marriage was already dead. This was about Lily's future, about whether Amanda could rewrite history and make me disappear from my daughter's life. I started documenting everything. Grocery receipts with timestamps, text messages, photos of the mysterious Rick's car in our driveway, times when Amanda claimed to be somewhere she wasn't. Every electrician learns to document changes to code. When the inspector comes, you need proof your work was clean, legal, safe. Same principle applied here. Amanda came home that afternoon humming, actually humming. She made dinner, asked about my day, played the perfect wife for an audience of 3, but her performance felt different now, like she was already practicing for court. "How was your week, honey?" she asked, cutting into her chicken with surgical precision. "Quiet," I said. "Been working on that engine in the garage, making progress." She smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. But here's what Amanda didn't understand about engines. Before you rebuild one, you have to take it completely apart. Every piece documented, every flaw cataloged, every weakness exposed. Only then can you build something that actually runs. Manila envelopes lined my workbench like ammunition, each one marked with a date, time, location. 3 weeks of Amanda's lies, organized and ready. The evidence spoke for itself. I just needed someone who knew how to make it talk in court. Robert Kane handled men's rights cases from a cramped office above a pizza joint downtown. His receptionist was his ex-wife. His coffee was instant, and his win rate was 87%. Tommy had done work for him before. "Most guys come in here screaming," Kane said, flipping through my documentation. "You brought receipts instead." I dropped the USB drive on his desk. "The video's on there, audio transcript too. Everything's notarized." Kane plugged it in, watched for 30 seconds, then closed the laptop. "Jesus Christ. She's building a domestic violence case. Can you stop it? Stop it? We're gonna bury it." He leaned back in his chair. "Question is, how deep you want to dig? Deep enough to protect my daughter." Kane nodded. "I'll need a retainer. 5,000 to start." I wrote the check. Cash from overtime, money I'd been saving for Lily's college. Better investment than I'd planned. The camera went up the next morning. Nothing fancy, basic security setup tucked under the garage eave. You'd have to know where to look to spot it. Amanda never looked up when she was focused on her performance. She served me the papers on a Thursday, walked into the garage like she owned the place, handed me the envelope with that practiced sympathy smile. "I'm sorry it came to this, Sam, but I can't live in fear anymore." Fear. The word she'd been rehearsing with Rick for weeks. Domestic instability, I read from the filing. Unsafe environment for minor child. Amanda's lawyer had painted me as a powder keg. Angry outbursts, drinking problem, Lily allegedly afraid to come home after school. All lies, but lies with just enough detail to sound believable. What Amanda didn't know was that Kane had already filed our response. Monday morning, her lawyer opened a package containing one USB drive, 43 pages of documented evidence, and a request for emergency custody evaluation, plus a fraud alert on our joint accounts. Kane called me at lunch. Her attorney wants to meet today. What's the rush? They must have watched the video. Tuesday afternoon, Amanda came home from her lawyer meeting looking like she'd been hit by a bus. No humming, no perfect mom smile. Just the pale, shaky realization that her script had been torn up. Her phone rang constantly, Rick probably, or her lawyer, trying to explain how their slam-dunk case had turned into a disaster. The custody evaluator arrived Thursday morning. Social worker named Janet Mills, 20 years of experience. The kind of woman who'd seen every sob story twice. She walked through our house like a building inspector checking code violations. Kitchen, clean, organized, well-stocked. Lily's room, homework done, bed made, family photos on the dresser. My workshop, tools organized, safety gear stored properly. No sign of the angry drunk Amanda had described. You keep detailed records, Mills noted, flipping through my documentation. Part of the job. Electrical work requires precision. She interviewed the neighbors. Mrs. Henderson couldn't stop praising how calm and steady I'd always been. Mr. Rodriguez mentioned seeing me teaching Lily to change the oil in her bike. Even Amanda's friend Carol admitted she'd never witnessed any anger or instability. Where was all this domestic terror Amanda had described? Then Tommy's contacts came through with something bigger. Rick wasn't just Amanda's lover. He was Rick Brennan, licensed realtor, brother of the lawyer handling her case, family business. The property transfer appeared in public records 3 days later. Amanda had signed papers putting our house into a trust, forged my signature to make it legal. The trust beneficiary? A shell company Rick controlled. They weren't just planning to take Lily, they were planning to steal everything. I filed the fraud alert that afternoon, froze our joint accounts, flagged the property transfer, sent copies to the county recorder's office. All legal, all documented, all by the book. Amanda came home to find her credit cards declined and her lawyer no longer returning calls. Turns out family law firms don't like it when their clients involve them in fraud schemes. The neighborhood started talking, not loud gossip, quiet whispers behind grocery carts and garden hoses. The perfect mom facade was cracking, and people were starting to see through the gaps. Amanda stopped waving at neighbors, stopped organizing the block party committee, stopped pretending she belonged in a world that was quietly turning away from her. But here's the thing about electrical systems. When you ground them properly, they're safe. When you don't, they burn everything down. I kept showing up to work, paid the bills, fixed the kitchen faucet Amanda had been complaining about for months, kept my hands clean and my voice steady. While Amanda's world fell apart around her, I just kept doing what I'd always done, being the man she'd tried to erase from the story. The difference was, now I had proof she'd been lying about who that man actually was. Amanda sat alone at the PTA bake sale, her brownies untouched on the table. Neighbors' eyes drifted past her like she'd become invisible. Conversation shifted when she approached. Doors closed before she could join. The wordless exile had begun. Court was scheduled for 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. Judge Patricia Coleman, 26 years on the bench, the kind of woman who'd heard every sob story and spotted every lie. She reviewed our evidence for 18 minutes without saying a word. Kane had laid it out clean. Video evidence, audio transcript, documented timeline, fraud alerts, forged signatures. Everything organized like a wiring diagram, each connection clear, each component labeled. "Mrs. Decker," Judge Coleman said finally, "your claims of domestic instability appear to be entirely manufactured." Amanda's lawyer started shuffling papers. Gone was the smug confidence from his opening statement. Now he looked like a man who'd grabbed the wrong electrical wire. "Your Honor, my client has legitimate concerns." "Your client," the judge interrupted, "appears to have coordinated with a third party to defraud marital assets while staging false abuse allegations. I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for review." The gavel came down like a circuit breaker snapping shut. Amanda was removed from the house pending investigation. Temporary full custody awarded to me. Just like that, 17 years of her performance collapsed into a single court order. Lily's testimony was private, just her and the judge. 15 minutes in chambers, no lawyers, no recording. When she came out, she looked lighter somehow, like she'd been carrying a weight nobody could see until it was gone. "What did you tell her?" I asked later. "The truth. What I saw. What I heard. Mom coaching that man about what to say." Lily shrugged. "She asked if I felt safe at home. I said only when you were there." How long had my daughter been protecting me without me knowing? News travels fast in neighborhoods like ours. By Thursday, everyone knew. The perfect mom title got replaced by something else. Silent stares, closed doors, conversations that stopped when Amanda appeared. Mrs. Henderson wouldn't make eye contact anymore. Mr. Rodriguez found sudden reasons to go inside when Amanda walked past. Even Carol, her closest friend, started avoiding the grocery store on days Amanda usually shopped. Rick distanced himself faster than a shorted electrical line. Suddenly he was just helping with real estate questions and barely knew her personally. His realtor license got suspended pending investigation. Amazing how quickly people forget your name when the spotlight gets too hot. Amanda's lawyer caught a public rebuke from the state bar for filing misleading documentation. His fancy downtown firm quietly reassigned her case to a junior associate who looked fresh out of law school. The house felt different with Amanda gone. Not empty, clean, like static had been cleared from the air. Child services came by twice. Both times they found the same thing. Quiet order, stocked refrigerator, homework getting done. Father and daughter working together to rebuild something that had been broken. "You've created a stable environment," the caseworker noted, "under difficult circumstances." "I hadn't created anything, just removed what was causing the instability." Even Amanda's former friends started telling different stories. Turns out she'd been practicing her victim narrative on them for months, testing which details got the biggest reaction. They'd grown tired of being her rehearsal audience. The collapse wasn't loud. No dramatic scenes, no public confrontations. Just the slow, total disintegration of a reputation built on performance. Amanda became a cautionary tale told in whispers at coffee shops and school pickup lines. What happens when the mask slips completely? Saturday afternoon, Lily and I started repainting the living room. Neutral colors, nothing flashy. Amanda's staged photos came down first, the ones arranged to show her as the perfect wife and mother. We found normal family pictures hidden in a drawer, real moments instead of posed performances. The Best Mom Award from last year's school carnival had been displayed prominently on the mantel. Lily tossed it in the donation box without a word. "I made something in shop class," she said, pulling a small wooden gear from her backpack. "Hand-carved, rough around the edges, but honest work. Thought it might look good up there instead. Hung it on a small hook beside my workbench tools, a private badge of survival earned not through noise or drama, but through endurance." The house was quiet now. Really quiet, for the first time in years. Not the forced silence of secrets and lies, but the honest quiet that comes when broken things finally stop making noise. Amanda's certainty had been her weapon, her absolute confidence that she could rewrite reality, that her version of events would be believed simply because she delivered it with enough conviction. But certainty built on lies has a fatal flaw. Eventually someone checks the wiring. Dawn came quiet to the garage. Just me, my tools, and the steady hum of the old refrigerator I'd been meaning to replace for 3 years. Some things work better when you leave them alone. I cleaned each tool methodically, wiped down the wrenches, organized the socket sets, hung everything back on its proper hook. Order restored, one piece at a time. The USB drive sat on my workbench next to the printed transcript. 48 days of evidence, from that first Tuesday afternoon to yesterday's final court order. The whole ugly truth contained in a device smaller than my thumb. I picked up an old metal lunchbox from the shelf. Dented, scratched, carried to job sites for 15 years before I retired it. Still solid, still reliable. The kind of thing that lasts when everything else falls apart. The drive and transcript went inside, along with the notarized copies Tommy had helped us make. I slid the lunchbox to the back of the shelf, behind a row of paint cans and forgotten projects. Not hidden, just stored, like spare parts you keep around because you never know when you'll need them again. I sat on the workbench with my coffee, watching the empty driveway. 48 days ago, a strange car had pulled in right there. Amanda had met him at the door, like she'd been waiting all her life. Now the only cars that belonged there were mine and Lily's bike, propped against the garage wall. How much can change when you stop ignoring what's right in front of you? Footsteps on gravel. Lily appeared in the doorway, hair still messy from sleep, wearing the same oil-stained shop-class t-shirt she'd had on yesterday. She didn't say good morning, didn't ask what I was doing up so early. She just grabbed a wrench from the pegboard and knelt down beside the lawnmower. The bolt we'd been fighting for 3 days was still stuck. Lily positioned the wrench, applied steady pressure, found the right angle. Metal gave way with a satisfying click. "There," she said. Simple as that. We worked in silence, no need for words when the work spoke for itself. The air between us felt clean, simple, earned through weeks of quiet understanding. No celebration, no speeches about justice or vindication. Just a father and daughter fixing things that needed fixing, one bolt at a time. The sun climbed higher, painting the garage in warm morning light. I picked up the small wooden gear Lily had carved in shop class. Rough around the edges, but honest work, made with her own hands. I hung it on a hook beside my workbench, a private badge of survival, earned not through noise or drama, but through endurance. Through showing up every day and doing what needed to be done. Lily glanced at the gear, nodded once, then went back to cleaning grass clippings from the mower deck. Some victories don't need announcing. I wiped my hands on the shop rag, switched off the lights, and closed the garage door. The house waited across 20 feet of cracked driveway, morning sun catching the windows Lily and I had cleaned last weekend. For the first time in months, everything was quiet. Truly quiet. Not the forced silence of secrets and lies, but the honest quiet that comes when broken things finally stop making noise. I stepped inside, poured fresh coffee, and listened to my daughter moving around upstairs, getting ready for school. Normal sounds. The house had found its rhythm again.